Welcome to Rich Conversations. Today we'll chat with Gary Pressley. We met up at Soul Vegetarian on 75th in Indiana. After our conversation, we had some food. I had the noodle stir-kai, and it was delicious. It was fantastic. You can follow Gary at G_Pressley or _whole lot of plants. Let's begin. All right, so we're here with Gary. How long have you lived in Chicago?
I am a native Chicagoan, so I've lived here for 28 years and counting. My birthday is actually at the end of the month on Halloween.
So what neighborhood are you in now?
So right now I live in Bronzeville. I'm actually on the furthest edge of Bronzeville, right next to Washington Park. So got a nice little mix of both. I've been here for about 3 years now. So.
You're in Brownsville. You mentioned, too, you've been kind of all over the place, right?
Yeah. So fortunately, I've gotten a nice compositional experience living in Chicago. So I grew up on the south side, far south side, like in the what we call the hundreds.
Okay.
And then lived in the south suburbs as well. And then when I went to DePaul, that forced me to go further up north. And then lived in Pilsen, so I've been a transplant Chicagoan kind of all over the place.
So you've been in Chicago your whole life, but you use the word transplant.
Yeah.
So you're a transplant within
so
the
to
city?
speak. Just
okay.
I would say more so in the last few years, just because I can't really call any particular area home. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like I've lived in a lot, we moved a lot growing up. So I lived in a lot of the south suburbs. I could name 5 or 6 of them.
Okay.
Areas that I lived in the south suburbs, and then just different areas like Chatham. Lived in Chatham for a little while. I guess the specific area that we lived in the hundreds was considered West Pullman.
Okay.
And so I've got to see quite a bit of Chicago, but mostly the south side. And then, by going to DePaul, I lived in Lincoln Park for a little while, and then Lakeview. So, only place I haven't lived is west side. And actually, I temporarily lived with a friend on the west side of Chicago too.
So you do have a little bit of experience.
I'm from everywhere, man.
Yeah.
I love Chicago through and through.
So what's favorite neighborhood is a Ron?
Yeah.
It's Ron or
I don't know if I have one in particular. I can say this. My mom actually always dreamed to live in Hyde Park. And that's kind of an area I hang out in quite a bit. Even though I live in Bronzeville, Bronzeville is a historic area, but it doesn't have a whole lot of hangout spots right now. I feel like it's an area in transition. It's historically rich, and then it's had its moments where, now it's becoming more of a vibrant area again. It's a place where a lot of real estate moves are being made as we speak. In the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see a real transition in that area. But Hyde Park is historically been a very vibrant area. So, if I'm going to get something to eat right now, or going to hang out, take a date or something like that, it probably would be Hyde Park area. So,
Hyde Park.
Yeah, cool. It's one of the best areas in Chicago. And you would think it wouldn't be slept on at this point. It got a good buzz from the association of Barack Obama, his house being there. So, and then I think it has, it's one of the areas with the highest amount of mansions in it. I think Lincoln Park is up there, and I think Hyde Park is in that top 3 or something like that. So.
Yeah, I was just over there at the coffee shop you recommended. It's
a beautiful area.
It's
man.
beautiful, and it's vibrant, and it's got a certain aura to it. I would say
it's its own city within Chicago.
That's what I was
so to speak,
thinking,
man. Just like a downtown Hyde Park, for real. And then in the summertime, it might be one of the best areas to hang out in. It's congested too a bit for that reason. It's become a popular thing amongst Southside Chicagoans, I would say. But it still, has a special place for sure.
Yeah.
So summertime, check it out, Rich. For sure.
If you have an open Saturday, how would you choose to spend it?
I would say I would wake up early, but that's me being ambitious. We'd probably go to the gym, get a good workout in, hit that sauna, get a good breakfast. Probably go to Begab's to get my breakfast in these days. So one of these Saturdays we're gonna have to hit Begab's so you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it's a vegan restaurant in the South. It's in Hyde Park. Probably read. I've been reading a lot the last month or so.
What have you been reading?
A few books by Malcolm Gladwell. So the first one I read was The Outlier.
Okay.
The Outlier.
Okay. What do you think of Outliers?
I like that. It was interesting in terms of like the different disciplines that it went through, which is kind of like my thing in general. Like I like to examine why people are successful in a various amount of disciplines, and so that was interesting to me, as well as like just like some things happening by chance. You know what I mean? Like some people just being born in the right time and then seizing that opportunity and making the most of it.
Yeah, I think you used Bill Gates for that example, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pretty much every example, like every example that like the individual really had great timing as well as some chance, like, in terms of like the one lawyer he was talking about who was studying, I think acquisition law or something like that. Okay. And then that became like, it wasn't a thing, and then it became a thing, and like he became a multi-millionaire, you know what I mean? Like him and his friends. Whoa. And they are similar backgrounds, like why they were perfectly positioned to become those successful lawyers in that particular like area of law. So
have you read he's got a new one out this month?
I haven't read that yet. I just read, what did I just finish? I read Outliers, and then I read a different book. Now I'm on Blink. Okay. And then I forget his other book, but I'll be reading that next. I like to read stuff in order. I'm not reading that in order right now, but I'm like trying to read all of those books that came out first, and then I'll get to the newest one.
The last one I read of his was David and Goliath, or David versus Goliath, and it was like how a lot of times we view certain things as disadvantages, like inherently disadvantages, but it actually turns out the opposite. Like, you would think that going to Harvard is this awesome advantage, but on the flip side, when you go there, you have to be like one of the top students to go there in the first place.
Right.
But when you're comparing yourself to everybody else who's also like the top, there's like more depression and more anxiety of more. You're comparing yourself
more
to what's around you, rather than like you're as an individual, like you're a smart person,
right? Yeah. So you go from like the cream of the crop.
So it'd be better to go like to a different school that's not Ivy League, so where you can like stand out and seize all the opportunities that come your way.
Or what is it? Iron sharpens iron. So you might be placing yourself in good company though too. So depends on how you look at it.
So what else are you going to do on the Saturday?
On a Saturday, weather like is spring, summer, fall, winter. I got to get on Lakeshore and just kind of drive up and down and play some of my favorite tunes. I actually should develop like a Lakeshore drive like playlist, just because that's like I feel like that's one of the coolest parts about Chicago. If you want to drive on like some leisure type thing, like Lakeshore is pretty dope. From all the way from the south side all the way up to up north. That's a cool little drive. So if you haven't done that yet, I highly recommend it. What else? I like to go to the conservatory. So Garfield Park Conservatory or the Lincoln Park one is pretty cool too. Yeah. But it's pretty cool just to kind of be in that space and just check out the nature that is available and just see some plants and stuff that just take in the plants. And it's an awesome place to be.
Do you ever go out there in the winter?
I have been like once or twice. So that's probably the best because it's warm. Because it's warm. So you've been there in the winter, obviously.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a whole, like on the outside you're just it's such a pain to get there.
Right.
And then when you're inside, you're like, whoa,
Right.
desert,
Exactly.
fauna, and
Exactly,
tropical.
man. Exactly. It's a great, like, the lighting in there is awesome as well. Like, I see people get married there, or if they don't get married there, they go there to, like, take photos and whatnot. So,
I think they're pretty strict on permits now.
yeah.
Because everybody knows that
It's a good photo.
it's a good photo. So if you have like a DSLR, they're like,
Right. They
on
own
you,
you.
you
They
know?
own you, yeah. So you just got to have a bag.
yeah.
Just walk in. But it's not a bad price to pay. Give a donation and go in there or whatever the case it is. So that's a dope spot. And then I love to shoot pool too. I don't do it that much, but if I had an open Saturday, I like to go shoot some pool with some friends, kick back. So I'm a pretty chill person, man.
Yeah, you are.
I might hit a lounge or something like that, but I don't really do the clubs or like a whole lot of parties like that. Like if I'm going to a party, I obviously like it's good. It's a long-standing relationship. It's somebody I really care about, and it's I'm just trying to kick back and have a good time. But all positive vibes, all good vibes. A chill Saturday for me. I probably would add like going to a concert because I feel like there's so many musical acts that come through Chicago. So many venues. So I think that's whether it be the Metro or Shuba's or Reggie's sometimes. They got we got a lot to offer musically as well.
Yeah.
So for sure.
What's your proudest moment as a Chicagoan?
That was kind of tough for me to pick, but just to show some love to the South Side, I picked the White Sox winning the series in 05. And I would say, just to add context to that, I've lived in Chicago my whole life with the exception of like 10 months. We moved to Marietta, Georgia, and that just happened to be the time like that the White Sox won. Like we were away from Chicago actually, so it was kind of dope just to that moment. And then we were actually down there during Hurricane Katrina, and Kanye West he directed it towards President Bush, but it was more so towards like the establishment and like the treatment of black people, poor black people, to be specific, in the Gulf area, and like how they were mistreated. And I just felt like that was such a Chicagoan type of thing to do, to like really stand up and speak on behalf of people that were, disenfranchised and like suffering. So that was a pretty proud moment, even though he later apologized, whatever the case it is, for directing it directly at Bush. But I think we all got the message in terms of like America, we have to do better for our people that are considered to be at the bottom and living in poverty. So
if someone were to visit you from out of town, what restaurant would you take them to?
So we're sitting in one of them, Soul Veg.
That's where we're at right now.
Yep, the original Soul Veg. This is on 75th in Indiana. So this has become one of my favorite spots. I've been on a plant-based diet for 3 years now, headed into 4, and it's a good place to come to get an affordable meal that's going to hit the soul. You got a variety of options, to get, whether that be the quick, like it's a quick side over there. You can get a smoothie, or you can get some hot food that's already prepared, or you can get the raw foods that are really going to feed you and nourish your body properly. You can get the kale, get the cucumber salad with tomatoes over there, or you come over here, you can get some of the good hearty fried foods. You get the fried cauliflower.
I'm excited because we're eating right after this.
You're going to feel amazing once you get through with this, trust. So Soul Veg is definitely on my list. But Gab's is another vegan spot that's in Hyde Park. I mentioned it earlier, as well as Majani is another one that's in like South Shore area. Those are my top 3 picks right now. Of course, you asked me this 3 years ago. I got a different type of list for you. Trying to encourage people to eat better, and that's actually been one of the things that I've been working on. Is I got a blog myself. It's called Whole Lotta Plants, and it's really just documenting my journey in terms of eating plant-based diet, because people ask me all the time, like, what do you eat? Like, as if I just eat like salads, and people got all the jokes and whatnot. Like, but I mean, I eat very well. Like, nothing's changed. I love food, and I still have a great appetite and still, I'm full. I'm not I'm not bare bones out here.
What's your hidden gem in the city?
That was kind of a tough pick too, just because I feel like the city in itself is a hidden gem, like throughout the country. But to be more specific, I lived in Pilsen for a little while, and I would drive across like 16th Street, and you can see the murals that are there, and I just feel like it really expresses like the creativity that's in Chicago. So have you ever seen that before?
I've seen a few murals on like Halstead, and it's north of 18th Street.
That's 16th.
It's kind of
that's 16th,
yeah.
right? It's 16th
Okay,
Street.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if you go across that whole stretch, like there's murals like going across the whole thing, and so there's some new ones up there that I hadn't really seen. I was over there the other day, and so I guess like kind of as some of them fade out, like people go back and put something new up. Okay. But I think that's like, and it's kind of in the heart of Chicago. I think that's like what the nickname is for that area too, like just right next to Pilsen. But I think that again, like it just it shows a lot of the creativity that exists in Chicago. And then other than that, maybe like Promontory Point. It's again like right by Hyde Park, and I like to go hide out over there sometimes. Like if the weather's real nice, I feel like it's not a heavily promoted area, but it's a dope area to go catch the breeze in the summertime, man.
Someone else mentioned that place.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
I gotta check it out. Yeah. What sound do you most affiliate with Chicago?
For me, I would say, like, I think Chicago and Detroit have a special role in the formation of soul music. So even though it's not like clear in today's music that comes from Chicago, I feel like in previous generations, like soul music, it clearly has a presence in Chicago's music scene, like soul, jazz, and then for me, hip hop. I was born in '90s, so we didn't have a whole lot of artists before Common and like Kanye West, and now we got Chance. We got like a plethora of artists now that are coming from here, but a lot of those guys were inspired by Kanye, and he was inspired by the soul music that came from Chicago. So I feel like soul has the most prominent role in terms of what the musical scene has produced. We gotta go back and check out that history a little bit. Like I can't even really tell you any particular artist.
Which one?
Just the musical history.
Yeah.
Like, and particularly, I think Bronzeville is one of those areas that was kind of responsible, or like that's kind of an area that they worked and lived out of, I believe, was Bronzeville. So I think that's where a lot of the soul and like jazz, like while they were having the Harlem Renaissance, like there was also that same type of movement in Chicago. So
is there another sound you think of, like not just music, but just in like everyday life?
I mean, I would say it definitely has a vibrancy that's like a busy metropolis area, you know what I mean? Like people talking, moving, trains moving, people in a hurry. Like, yeah, I mean, and that's one sound. Like I think the sound of Chicago is different depending on who you ask, right? Like I'm someone that's been privileged enough to live in a variety of settings. So I've lived in some impoverished settings, and I've also lived in some, middle of the pack, like working class settings, and been like during my college years, I lived in more privileged areas. So I would say the sound of Chicago and the mood of Chicago kind of shifts depending on where you're at. And then I think every area has a multitude of sounds, right? Like it's not always rainy and it's not always rainbows and sunshine or whatever, you know the saying. I mean, like it's not always like one type of way.
I feel like you answered this already, but
yeah.
What are some of your favorite artists?
Definitely, or from Chicago, I would say Kanye, Lupe, Common. I feel like I'm missing somebody, but those three kind of stand out for me, for sure. And what I like about them is that, for one, they kind of collaborated with one another. Like that's a big thing for me. I feel like that is one of the bigger that's one of the best aspects of hip hop is the collaboration piece. Like if you look at the foundation of hip hop, like it's based in collaboration, it's based in community, and I think all of those guys speak to that, like from the beginning of their careers till now. So anybody that's like looking out for where they come from, like looking out for the people of where they come from, I really admire that, and that's something I try to embody. So,
what's a common scene you see in your daily interaction with the city?
A common scene, people hitting potholes, for sure. People going to and from work, kids going to school. Unfortunately, I see a lot of homeless people, especially on my way to work. I drive across 51st Street, and I see a lot of people lined up under the bridge. I see people hustling and grinding, trying to make a way. So I'm just had like a daydream to kind of try to go there to see to give you a good answer. But yeah, that's pretty much what I see is like a lot of people just trying to make it happen for themselves and for their families on a daily basis. So it's not as easy to do that every single day, but I feel like Chicagoans like bust their tail to make it happen.
If you were given secret information that Chicago would be destroyed in 1 week, what's one quality you would keep to rebuild the city?
So I originally put resilience because I feel like Chicago is filled with people with a lot of resilience, but I also feel like we kind of drive culture, so to speak, like specifically from Chicago. Like it's a lot of terms that are used around the country now that originated in Chicago.
What are some of them?
I'll try to think. Some of the ones that come to mind right now are not the most flattering, but
okay, maybe, yeah.
If I think of another one, I'll bring it up later on. But I feel like Chicago has had a lot of, like, a big role in terms of culture in general. New York has its place, LA has its place, but Chicago is kind of the heart of the country. So I would say just kind of that swagger a little bit, you know, like if you're from Chicago, like people like look at you like in a certain type of way, you know.
You said heart of the country. Do you mean that both geographically or like spiritually? Spiritually is maybe the wrong term, but
yeah, I know what you mean though.
Yeah,
like it's hard to put it in words, but I know what you mean.
What's one small thing you would do to improve your neighborhood or the city as a whole?
So I made a joke about the potholes earlier, but that would actually really help. As well, maybe more town halls so that people could really voice their opinion on some things they would like to see changed in Chicago, and everybody could feel like their voice is heard. And if it was televised, you know, so the same things aren't necessarily brought up over and over again, but people can see that something was brought up, and that later on they can see that it was improved upon. So I think that would be a dope thing to kind of bring the city together a little bit more. As well as, this just came to me, but like some type of thing that would like allow maybe like the North Side residents to get to know like the South Side a little bit better, and as well as the West Side. Like if Chicagoans could just understand each other a little bit more, I think that would make for a better city for everyone. So
I think that's a great point, man.
Dope.
That's cool. When people learn you're from Chicago, how do they respond, and what's your reaction? So
when that time that we moved to Atlanta, like the Atlanta area or whatever, and we told people we were from Chicago, I would say it was mostly positive reactions, like, oh, like they associate that with like Michael Jordan, of course, you know, and a lot of the sports teams in general, as well as like musicians. So some of those rappers that I named earlier. And then, of course, there's always like that aspect of, you know, what they see on the news as far as some of the violence and whatnot. So, you know, there's questions about that, like what it's really like to live, you know, in Chicago, particularly on the South Side as well. And so I would say mostly positive. People are impressed. And my reaction, you said my reaction?
Yeah.
My reaction is definitely like a sense of pride. Like, not everyone can say that they're from a city that's recognized like internationally. So, if anybody takes interest in something that you're associated with, kind of automatically makes you have a sense of pride with that too. So, I can proudly say I'm from Chicago.
When you feel overwhelmed or you need a mental escape, but you can't leave the city, where do you go to clear your mind?
Depends on the season. If it's warm out, I might go to 39th Street Beach and just kind of chill out, walk around, maybe, sit by the water, sit by the stones, and just chill out and reflect a bit, maybe play some music, get back centered, and carry on. So that's one of my spots. I actually like the area over by Soldier Field, like right over there too. They got like a similar kind of setup.
Like the on the beach over there, or
kind of sort of, or like
just the campus area.
I think it's the campus area,
okay.
like wherever that turn is, where you can kind of go up to the museum and then you can like circle around. It's not really park. Yeah, it's not really parking over there like that for real. But if you catch it at the right spot, you can kind of just pull up and then keep an eye on your car and then go get you a break over there.
That's a good view of the skyline over there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Dope. That's actually one of the dope spots. That's one of the gems about Chicago too. It's not so much hidden, but the skyline is pretty impressive. So if you got anybody visiting from Chicago, of course you can go take them somewhere where you can get a good view of the skyline too.
What did you think of the skyline as a kid growing up and you'd see it? What did that mean to you?
I can't, I'm trying to take myself back there, and it's kind of hard to see, but I actually didn't spend a lot of time downtown growing up, and that's an interesting point too. Is that I work at a school now, and while I was at DePaul, I actually was working with some kids on the southwest side of the city, and they hadn't really been downtown, so that was kind of interesting to me that you could live in a city like Chicago and never really see the full scope of what it offers. So I'm sure my mom took me downtown, but I can't really recall what it was like to walk around downtown like that.
What's something you're curious about recently?
So what I brought up earlier, kind of the theme of the outliers, what tends to make people successful, or what missteps typically would derail someone's success. I'm very intrigued by that. I don't know. It's just, I think you learn from other people's experiences. You don't have to go through as much if you can kind of take a sample of, what worked for some people and what didn't work. And then, there's always that thing what works for someone else won't necessarily work for you, but you can still pull from that. So Malcolm Gladwell definitely kind of touched on that in that book. And then I think that's kind of a lifelong thing for me. I've always been somebody that observed people, and whether that be family members or friends, I kind of examine what makes people successful versus why they tend to fail at different times. So I'm a lifelong learner, so I'm looking at everything.
Yeah.
From what people wear to what they eat to what they're reading, what music they listen to. I watch a lot of Breakfast Club interviews, and I think that's the dopest thing about that show is that they bring on people from so many different careers, and they get to speak to their experience. And so it's like a career fair, sort of. You get to hear how they made it. You know what I mean? Or some people come on there and they talk about what went wrong, where they went wrong, and how they rebounded from that. So it varies. It's all over the place, man.
What's one of the common themes you see? Is there a common theme within each person that's successful? Or
I would say that no matter where you're at in life, there's always going to be things thrown at you, and you're just going to have to make adjustments. And so I think that's the common thread, I would say, is that and it doesn't stop as long as which can be a little depressing, but like
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like it helps you understand that you just got to stay on your game and take care of yourself. Have those self-care moments, but put your best foot forward, work hard, and realize that life is the greatest test, but it's also it's one of the greatest pleasures though too. So you got your ups and your downs, but keep it moving.
Kind of on a similar note, within the past 5 years, what personal realization has improved your outlook on life the most?
I think just the realization that things are what we make them. Like you're gonna get back what you put out. So once you kind of wrap your mind around that and understand that, it makes you want to talk to people in a different way. It makes you want to start your day a little bit differently. It makes you cherish the small moments, how the sun feels, against your back, especially in Chicago. Like I feel like that's another one of the things. Like it makes us a little gritty by just the fact that we have that brutal winter, and then it makes you appreciate spring, summer, fall that much more. So just you're gonna get what you put out, and so appreciate the small moments and just put out good vibes, positive energy, so that you can get that back. So that's how I always kind of live my life, but it just puts that much more of an emphasis on it, especially working with kids, man. Like
Especially what?
Working with kids at a school is
sure.
like they're gonna feed off the energy that I give them and vice versa. So I try to manage that as best as possible. So
What's something you dream of accomplishing within the next 5 years?
So it's something I'm actually working on now. I'm transitioning what started out as a blog, the Whole Lot of Plants page. You can find me on Instagram, but I'm transitioning that into a full-fledged business, and I'm dedicating part of my life to helping people eat healthier. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah. So
I've seen a few of the stuff you have.
Yeah, man.
It's cool.
I'm working on it. So I'm working on the recipes and just how I want to operate as a business. Like, there's a lot of planning that needs to go into running a business effectively, and just kind of figuring out what your niche is. So I want to do it the proper way. I've been talking to people and inspired by a lot of friends that I see developing their own brands, and so it made me realize, you have a brand, and it's something that's worthwhile, to build, and it's going to help people at the same time, and it should be profitable as well. So that's why I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome.
Dope.
Those are all the questions I have for you, Gary.
Dope. This was dope. This was fun, man. So
yeah, man.
Get to see you again, get to catch up, and we have this great conversation. Hopefully, we have another one at some point.
That's right. That's right.
For sure.
Thanks for listening to Rich Conversations. Again, you can follow Gary at G_Pressley or _whole lot of plants. Enjoy the beautiful day.